All right, what's up everybody? Christian Nix here, also known as a Barefoot Doctor. I have a special treat for you today. I'm gonna break down something. I've never done this before on any video previously, no free video that I've put on my YouTube channel here. But I think this is important. In fact, this is probably the important information for a lot of people, whether you're dealing with a serious long-term chronic condition or whether you want to stay out of that category. What I'm going to share with you in this video is going to be exceedingly useful because I'm going to show you a different way of thinking. This is step one, and it's the crucial step that sets you on a completely, totally different path to understanding what's happening inside your body in a way that makes you empowered, although I'm not a fan of that word because it's so hackneyed and overused, but truly to empower you to sort of drive your own health and illness. I named my program the Pivot Protocol because in ancient medicine, the ancient medical system that I studied and discovered many, many years ago now, over 2.5 decades, they named the system of self-healing that is already present in your body. This is not something mysterious. After this video, you'll understand that this is not some magical, mystical, new age concept. Your organs are made to work together to heal you. If you know how to create the right condition inside your body, your organs will heal on their own. Your body knows how to put itself back together. So I don't care if you're dealing with 20 to 50. I have people who have found my program, and after 40 to 50 years, I had one guy with 50 years of chronic digestive illness who put himself back together. Why? How's that possible? Because the body still knows how to heal. Even after long-term illness of 5 decades, your body knows how to get things working together again, and then your symptoms go away on their own. The body is wired to do this. It's inherently designed to make you well again. It knows how to do this. Your job is to mostly tune out some of the batshit poor advice that you get from new age kind of healers and fad health, fad diet, fad everything wannabe gurus, and actually settle down to learn this ancient system as I'm teaching it to you. So let's dive in. In the first place, let me start with the system that I'm going to teach you shows you the body not from a biomedical point of view. Now, if I say to people, I'm going to teach you about medicine, but we're not going to talk about molecular biology, we're not going to talk about biochemistry, we're not going to talk about cellular level biology, and we're not going to analyze health and illness at that level. We're going to analyze it because, again, if you don't have a degree in that stuff, if you're not an MD, if you don't speak the lingo of modern bio, high-tech medicine, modern medical thinking, mainstream medical thinking, then you're going to be at a loss at what to do because, right, that is an entire world by itself. There's a worldview that's captured and captivated and contained within biochemical, molecular, biological kind of thinking and cellular biology. That is the level at which all the thinking in mainstream medicine is done, almost without exception. And so, first of all, are we saying that that's bad? No, it's very good at what it does. What it does is primarily related to emergency situations. If they have to zap a bunch of cells or use chemotherapeutic agents to kill a bunch of cells that they can identify, right, with cellular biological markers, right, and then design a poison to stick into your body and then kill off a certain kind of cell in there. Well, that's amazing stuff. Certainly that kind of high-tech medical delivery and medical care, if you want to call it that, certainly has whatever advantages it has. I think we can all agree that if you ended up in a situation where you had a certain illness, that you'd be much happier not to have certain emergency therapies. And I use cancer as an example because it really is, it's a little known dirty secret within the medical community. Most oncologists, most cancer doctors would not take the medical treatment that they prescribe for their own patients. That's kind of interesting, right? Don't you think? Once upon a time, people took very seriously the whole Hippocratic Oath, which said, first, do no harm. And yet the majority of oncologists, and this includes radiation oncology, chemotherapeutic doctors working with chemotherapy for cancer treatment, would not take the exact therapy that they are giving to their patients, because they know it's horrific, it's horrendous. My point here is, yes, modern emergency medicine is miraculous. Yes, we're all glad. Yes, we should jump up and down and applaud for what it can do to save lives in an emergency. It's a miraculous emergency medical system, the best ever created by far. However, right, the majority of patients, the majority of the population in the world today and for the foreseeable future is dealing with chronic, long-standing, daily symptoms and misery, right, that comes out of chronic disease. So if this is an emergency medical system and most people have this problem over here, which is chronic illness, is there something that helps us understand chronic illness in a way that would give you, the patient, the person experiencing this misery, the opportunity and the tools and the understanding and the basic logic that would allow you to be your own best healer, right? That would give you the ability to rally your body's resources, to rally your body's own self-healing, interior design, right? The inherent sort of self-healing mechanism that is already set up and operational. If you're alive today, your self-healing mechanism is working to some degree. That's what being alive means, right? If you didn't have this, you wouldn't be here. You'd be dead already. So if you're watching this video, congratulations, your self-healing mechanism is at least partly functional. The piece that you don't have is the piece that I'm going to start to give you now, which is, I guarantee you, if you're struggling with a chronic illness, especially, you don't have the kind of knowledge and tools and logical understanding of how to recognize what's happening inside you so that you can create the right conditions in your body for your organs to heal on their own. So that's what we're going to go into. And the way that you do that, the way that you begin to understand how the body can heal on its own, is actually very simple. It's what's referred to in modern times. Remember, ancient medicine did not have the advantages of, high-tech imaging, blood tests and blood panel exams with high-tech laboratory analysis of things like C-reactive protein and your TSH level and things like this, where you can look at different components in the blood to determine if there's an imbalance in the blood's biochemistry, etc. They didn't have that high-tech advantage. You can't take a picture in the body 2,000 years ago to figure out what's going on and see, oh, we did an MRI, this is what's happening over here, now we know what to do surgically and we can go in and repair that, or remove something, or what have you. Instead, what they relied on were functional markers. So in the modern era, you hear a lot of talk about, and it has become very cliche to discuss functional medicine, or people go, oh, I go to a functional, like they're boasting, right? I go to a functional medicine doctor. What these people undoubtedly don't know, and may not even care to know, is that the best model of functional thinking, the best model of the logic of functional medicine actually arose about 2,400 years ago in Asia, and it has continued. There's been a continuous development of very high level, really intelligent people, like the highest level of intelligentsia in every culture. Some of the people at the highest level of intelligentsia become medical professionals, because it is such a difficult, daunting field of study to try to put yourself forward as somebody who knows how to help regular sick human beings, and we all get sick at some point. Nobody goes from the cradle to the grave without falling ill at some point. And like I said, right, the majority of the population, especially as the population ages, but if you're over 40, the chances of you having one or more chronic conditions in your lifetime is almost 100%. Very few people will actually make it to the end of their lives, especially in the second half of life, and not develop something. A chronic condition is considered something with symptoms lasting 6 months or more. I would say it's actually closer to 3 months, but let's just go with the textbook definition and say if you have a nagging set of symptoms that last 6 months or more, you have a chronic illness. There are various reasons for this, right? Aging itself is a form of chronic illness because you are chronically breaking down, and after a certain age, aging itself, not to pathologize aging so that we can sell pills, but you are breaking down. So the likelihood of you developing some kind of chronic set of symptoms is very, very high. And so most people are going to be dealing with this, ergo most people will find relevance in what I'm about to share. The ancient medical approach focused on functional markers, functional signs and symptoms of imbalance or dis-ease. What is a function? Your body has functions. Respiration is a function. Walking is a function. Vision is a function. Digestion and assimilation of nutrients and elimination of waste is a function. We can ascribe certain either body parts, in the case of walking or grabbing things with your hand, right? Musculoskeletal kind of functions can be ascribed to various limbs or various digits and the coordination and all the rest. But mostly we are concerned with and mostly we are focused on the function of the organs. Symptoms produced from internal illness are have functional. Your organs have functional responsibilities. Right? Your lungs do not digest food; they are functionally responsible for breathing in and out. Right? Your heart is functionally responsible for pumping the blood around to the circulatory system, making sure that your tissue gets saturated with good, healthy blood and nutrients that are supplied by the blood that is circulating through your blood vessels. Okay. The digestive function, the intestines have a function, the liver has a function, the spleen has a function, the stomach has a function. We are primarily concerned with these 4 digestive organs. The pivot is made up of 4 primary digestive organs. This is the stomach, the liver, the spleen, and the intestines. So let me talk about now the kind of functional signs and symptoms that will be really useful to help you understand various conditions. I'm going to do this as a broad overview, and then if you want to put in the comments what specific condition would you like me to address, and maybe I'll shoot a separate video to talk about whatever it is. If you have SIBO or acid reflux or hiatal hernia or IBS or Crohn's disease or what have you, you can tell me that and I'll make that relevant. If you enjoy this channel and benefit from learning about ancient medicine and how it can help people with modern chronic conditions like yours, then you'll love my new book, The Patient Empowerment and Self-Care Manifesto. There's 112 pages of simple, easy-to-understand wisdom from ancient medicine with its elegant system of pattern diagnosis for helping regular people understand the exact root causes of hundreds of chronic conditions, the exact chronic conditions modern medicine cannot help you with. You'll also discover what steps you need to take to reclaim your sovereignty over your health and your recovery. In it, I delve deep into the 4 areas that affect your body's ability to recover from a chronic condition: diet, targeted exercises, state of mind practices, and simple remedies and treatments anyone can use, and which specific steps you need to take in what order if you want to activate and control your body's own self-healing resources. I promise you, this book is unlike anything you've ever seen or read before in the fad diet, biohacking, fad fitness, fad health and wellness, fad everything new age industries. Once you read Patient Empowerment and Self-Care, you'll never think about your health or chronic illness the same ever again. You can get a free copy of my Patient Empowerment and Self-Care Manifesto and ask me questions directly twice a month on my Ask Me Anything coaching calls when you take a trial membership to my private community, the Nix Institute for Self-Healing and Integration. The link is in the description if I don't cover it here, okay? So let's go to, this is a diagram that I put together. It's actually part of the material that I created to help people inside my pivot protocol, teaching people how to take back control of, and manage the digestive system in such a way that we're not just repairing digestion, we're fixing the thing inside you that fixes your digestion. In other words, if you think of your organs like gears, right? And like when you're healthy, the gears are coming together and the whole machine is working properly. And then something happens and the gears disengage or they're grinding together, right? That's a good mental image of chronic illness, especially chronic digestive illness. And the reason we focus on digestion to repair all manner of chronic illness, not just digestive conditions, but all kinds of chronic conditions respond to the repairing of the digestive function because the digestive system underpins just about every other system. I mean, we eat every day so that you can fuel the other systems, whether that's respiration or circulation or nervous system function or your sleep cycle, etc. Your mood, obviously your psychological, your psyche, the way in which you perceive the world and how you interpret things. I guarantee if you're sick, right, you're going to have a worse outlook on what's happening in the world around you than if you are well rested, you digest well, your elimination is solid, right? All the rest, when the digestion works, damn near everything else works, or at least every other system strongly benefits from that. So that's why we focus on this. These 4 organs are not just related to proper digestion, they are your self-healing system, Okay, so I'm making a very simplistic, or not simplistic, I'm making a very simple explanation of something that is actually really complicated. In 2,400 years, a lot of really smart people have added to this body of knowledge, and I'm bringing it to you in an authentic, but also, and hopefully very helpful way, but also a very stripped down way that you can use, that you can really apply in your own thinking. Okay, we're going to start with the liver, because what I want you to get from this video is there is a very recognizable, discernible, easy to identify pattern of breakdown in patients and conditions of chronic illness. And this breakdown goes, we're going to start down here, if you can see my cursor, at the liver. 90% of all doctor visits may be stress related. That's not my statistic, right? Various sources will tell you, right, that mostly what happens when people go to see a doctor is you're just overwhelmed. And that sense of overwhelm we refer to as stress. But here I'm not talking about the sensation or the psychological posture of like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. Oh, I gotta run pick up the kids, and we haven't made the mortgage payment this month, and oh no, you know, the business is failing, and I'm gonna have to stay up late and work tonight. Yes, all of that, but I'm talking about the physiological changes that happen inside the body when you experience the subjective feeling of stress, right? When you feel stressed, various biological functions are taking place in the body. The stress response mechanism constricts certain blood vessels. This increases your blood pressure, right? So if somebody's, right, we say they're hypertense, right? Hypertension is elevated blood pressure. That is a sign of the stress response. The stress response is so out of control, right? It's so overwhelming, it's so hyperactive that you develop this chronic sort of imbalance of heightened blood pressure. That's from the constriction of blood vessels in the circulatory system. The stress response constricts blood flow so that blood moves faster. If you make the pipe smaller, the water through your plumbing has to move faster. The same volume of blood in your body is squirting through your body much faster, the more your blood pressure goes up. Well, that makes sense, because when you're stressed, the body is in what we refer to in the vernacular as fight or flight. So we talk about this in functional kind of logic, ancient medical logic, as heat in the liver. The stress response is a form of heat because the liver is now working harder. You're speeding up, right? The image here, if you just picture it, you're at a stoplight and you're stepping on the gas and the engine is revving higher and higher. Okay, you may have an outlet for your stress. That means that your foot is off the brake. That's why exercise is so good, right? Go work out, right? If you got a bunch of stress and you push a bunch of blood through your body, you decrease that. And so I don't want to use too many mechanistic metaphors here, but in the old days, I'm old enough to remember this, when cars had carburetors. Sometimes you get a car that was stuck on a high RPM and you punch on the gas and the accelerator in neutral, right? And it would rev the engine up, and then it would come back down to a low idle, right? That's a good image, right, for actually what exercise does to your body. But also exercise pushes this heat throughout your body. It pushes the heat that is stuck and trapped in the liver, and that's going to cause all kinds of hell in terms of chronic symptoms and chronic problems, because it causes problems in your other organs, which I'm getting to in here in just a second. But the heat in the liver that's trapped there gets shoved through the body. Right? The liver pushes a bunch of blood out to all the muscles while you're working out. And so you have this tremendous relief of stress because the liver has now pushed out a bunch of heat and blood to the various other tissues of the body. It's not stuck in the liver like a pressure cooker, but this heat in the liver that is synonymous with or is co-equal to, in functional logic, the stress mechanism, the stress response. The stress response shrinks your blood vessels, it elevates your heart rate. Your heart speeds up, and the blood vessels constrict, so blood's really moving, right? It also does something else that's really relevant to your digestive system. It shuts off blood to your digestive and reproductive organs. In other words, when you're in fight or flight, when you're stressed, when you're in stress response mode, and blood pressure's up, heart rate is up, heat is building up in the liver because the liver is demanding a lot of fuel, right, to do its job. When all of that is happening to you, it also puts blood outside of your digestive organs. If you know the full sort of thought process here. Again, I said in the vernacular, we have the fight or flight response, and the opposite of that is your rest and digest mechanism. So when this one's on, this has to be off. That's how the body is made. There's no such thing as a stress response while you're digesting. It's one or the other, and this is called, in modern medical parlance, this is your sympathetic response, the sympathetic upregulation, and this is parasympathetic downregulation, and then these two have to switch. So what you want in a healthy functioning adult is that this is upregulated when it's time to be stressed, right? Work hard, push hard. Your body's designed to do that. Anytime you see people who refuse to have any stress in their life because it's like, well, it's just too hard, or I'm not interested in competing, or, you know, the world is against me, or whatever, like the various things, you know, when you see somebody who either can't handle stress or refuses to handle it, right? They're just like, I don't see that stress over there. I'm not dealing with that. It doesn't look good, right? The body is made to be stressed. We're made to work hard. We're made to push hard. So you have to have something to be stressed about, and then you should use that stress to push toward a goal, to really move yourself forward, right? Whether that's with family or business or athletics or whatever it is, push hard, right? Because it's good for you. And when you push hard, this mechanism will naturally seesaw. This is nighttime. You're resting and digesting and, right, and getting ready for the next day. And then this is, right, the alarm goes off and boom, you're off to the races, okay? And then maybe you have a meal and you have that letdown around 3 a.m., right? And boom, this thing turns off, and maybe you even take a nap in the afternoon, like so many people love to do, because there's a natural letdown at that time for reasons that I go into in different parts of the training, okay? So fight or flight, rest and digest. Fight or flight, rest and digest. They have to go on and off in alternating fashion, or else you end up with real trouble. And the real trouble that I'm talking about is when the fight or flight stays on for too long and won't go off, what you get is this heat from your liver immediately, and notice there's no arrows here, okay? All four of these things are related. In fact, I could draw some lines across this to explain, but we're going to do this in a clockwise fashion from the 6 o'clock position. Excess heat in the liver immediately sends a hunger signal to the stomach. You experience this as, oh, I'm hungry again, okay? Heat in the stomach is a hunger signal. The problem with, it's natural to have a hunger signal at some point during, say, a 12-hour day or a 24-hour cycle, right, of day and night. But the problem is that when the liver becomes overheated, the stomach will get hunger signals far too often. And this is the big illness of our time. This is probably the single biggest thing that's going on. It's why you look and see that diabetes, right, where excess eating has led to glucose intolerance, has led to, right, actually full-blown hormonal and biochemical imbalance within the blood and the bloodstream and the body tissues, where your body can no longer recognize and absorb glucose because of overeating. Where did the signal come to overeat? I mean, you can blame this on discipline, and fair enough, right? You have to have a modicum of discipline to be like, wait, I just ate an hour ago, I'm gonna have some water. I'm getting a hunger signal, but I'm not gonna eat now, because I just ate, right? Whereas most people are like, well, I just ate breakfast, but now I'm at work and I'm stressed and I'm on my 4th cup of coffee and damn it, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go have some pastries, right? And suddenly you're eating and overeating and eating too many meals and eating too much food too close together and snacking between meals, et cetera, and these two together, the heat from the liver causing excess rapid hungering, eating too much, eating too close together, putting food on top of half-digested food in the stomach, burdens the primary organ in ancient medicine with respect to digestive function is the spleen. The spleen is like the fire under the pot. If you think of the stomach like a pot, you get a hunger signal and you put food in the pot, there has to be something under the pot to cook the food. And when I say cook, I'm talking metaphorically, to cook the food and transform it into, right, the image here was that you distill the good nutrients out of the contents of the stomach. So the food goes into the pot, and the fire of digestion is the spleen function under the pot. And this fire of digestion cooks, metaphorically, the food that's in the pot, and the nutrients are distilled out of it, and then they are absorbed into the tissues. I won't go into that. There's more to say, but it's not relevant right now. When the fire of digestion is working and working and working and working and working itself to exhaustion, it gets weak. And then the food that goes into the pot is not distilled. It does not get cooked properly, and the nutrients are not extracted from it. Well, what does that look like? Well, the food eventually goes out of the stomach into the intestines. We're primarily interested in the large intestine, but it doesn't matter, small and large intestine, this should say. And you get mud, you get waste, you get what is referred to in ancient medicine as, not shockingly, stagnant food or food stagnation. This is half-digested sludge, half-digested food that cannot be absorbed through the intestinal wall because it is not broken down enough. The spleen was not strong enough to break it down. And now it sits in the intestine rotting as food and waste. If this goes on long enough, you develop all kinds of problems all the way up to and including leaky gut, which leads to autoimmune disease. Okay, this is the primary mechanism that is going on. This is the primary thing that's happening in all kinds of chronic conditions. It doesn't mean that you have specifically everything I've described, but the basic imbalance is contained within this depiction. And then too much food and waste, food stagnating and building up in the small and large intestines, places a tremendous burden on the body. The liver gets even hotter. You get more hunger signals if you don't know what's going on, and you can't remedy the problem of a weak spleen with food stagnation in your intestines. What do? You eat more because you're getting more. First of all, you're tired, right? As the spleen, the number one sign symptom of spleen weakness is fatigue. Fatigue. Right? You start to get fatigued. So what do you do when you're fatigued? Well, first of all, you're going to feel hungry more often, but typically what people do is they eat sweets. Sweets will stimulate the spleen and give you that burst of energy, right? That sugar high that gets you going at least for another hour or so until your next sugar fix is required. And lo and behold, right, this thing spins out of control because once food and waste build up in the small and large intestines, you get a bigger burden that creates more heat. All heat affects the liver. Either heat is coming from the liver or heat from somewhere else in the body makes the liver hotter than it already is. Okay? This is a wonderfully elegant system because this is how your body actually works in a way that once you see it and you get this explanation really, really drilled into your head, and then you think about your own symptoms and you go back and think about what I'm teaching you here, and then you think about your symptoms and you sort of look, it's like, damn it, that is what's happening to me. Okay, and the goal of videos like this is that you start making the connection between symptoms. I said the primary symptom, functional symptom, the spleen's job is to distribute food and nutrients to the body's tissues. When it is not strong enough to do that, well, the spleen's job is to transform and transport food and fluids. It has to transform the food that's in the pot, put the food in the stomach, and the spleen has to transform it, and then it has to transport that or distribute that out to the body tissues. All of the various body tissues require the nourishment that the spleen has extracted. So if the spleen is weak, it cannot transform and transport. You're not only building up food stagnation, you're also weak, you're also tired, you're also exhausted. Okay? So a weak spleen produces fatigue. That is a functional sign symptom. Food stagnation, what functional signs and symptoms show up when you have stagnant food in your intestines? Number one, bloating and gas. Number two, abdominal pain. Number three, irregular or somehow unpleasant elimination, right? A lot of people develop loose stools. Some people go to the toilet 5 times a day to move their bowels. Some people get dry intestines. That's related to heat. If heat gets into the intestines, it dries out the good, healthy mucus that lines your intestines. Can't move your bowels for 3 days, right? You got an emergency on your hand, right? This particularly dryness affects older people. You see all kinds of problems with dry intestines among the elderly. But mucus builds up in the intestines. Food stagnation produces bloating and gas. That is the primary sign symptom of food stagnation and or abdominal pain. Obviously, if you have a big bulging pouch of waste and gas and bloating and all the rest, that's very uncomfortable for most people. So bloating and gas, food stagnation, also abdominal pain, and also mucus. You build up mucus. This is an obstruction in the body. This obstruction is a physical thing. It's in the road, right? Like things have to move through your digestion. You have to eliminate waste out the other end. And when that is not happening, you have an obstruction, and that obstruction creates more heat. More heat causes more hunger. Body has to work harder. Spleen is already overwhelmed. food stagnation gets worse, and round this thing goes, baby. And once you get to a certain point, it is very, very hard to break this vicious sort of feedback loop that develops. This is the chronic disease feedback loop. Okay? And unless you know what I know, or unless you learn what I have to teach you, you will not be able to break this on your own. There's just not enough good information about how the body really operates in a way that gives you power to do that. That's why I created the Pivot Protocol. That's what I want to share with you in this video. That's why I put together all of the materials that I've created, is to help people break this chronic feedback loop, this chronic disease illness loop that exists within the pivot, within the primary organs that not only manage and control and have to do with digestive function, but that if you get them working together correctly again, your body will heal on its own. The body knows how to heal. Your job is to learn how to control and manage the environment of your internal organs, especially these 4 pivotal organs, so that they are operating and the gears start to mesh. The organs start to work together to help each other instead of, right, I should go this way, instead of this chronic disease feedback loop reinforcing and breaking you down. Once you reverse that and you break that loop, the organs start to work together again, and your chronic condition will go away on its own. I've helped thousands and thousands of people do this. I used to work one-on-one with people in clinic, and just my understanding and my ability to explain this to people really made a massive difference. So if you want that kind of help, if you're interested in that kind of thing, I've set up a way for you to have a call with me. There's a link below this. You can book a call with me. There's a cost for that. Of course, I have to charge for my time. If you know you need one-on-one help, I'm happy to do that. But I also have a lot of online resources that will really help you. And if you're watching my channel and you subscribe to this channel and you help spread the word about my stuff, send this video to anybody you think might really benefit from it. This is the good stuff when it comes to healing a chronic condition. This is what you need to know. So please share it, because that's how this channel will grow and has grown over the years. And if you're interested in any of the online materials, I've made those available to you also in the description below this video. Okay? Thanks very much, and remember, your body knows how to heal on its own. Your task is to create the right environment to allow self-healing. Thanks. I'll be back with more great stuff.